Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sorry we missed the last day. We had a scheduling conflict with one of our manufacturers, so here we are, right?
Yeah.
We're here and we're getting ready to talk about the topic today is build a community. And I'm having fun with this, especially since we were just with our Par Mitchell school community.
Our Par Mitchell?
Our Par Mitchell.
Also known as Paul Mitchell.
Our Paul Mitchell school community. And when you bring people together, magical things happen. And they work really hard at creating a community at Paul Mitchell. And that's kind of some of the things that we're going to be talking about today is how hard are we working at creating a community in our salons. And you'll understand what we mean by that as we start going.
Well, and what I think, one of the basics, some of the basics of community are already in place in a salon environment to begin with, which is presence, being present to each other. We work in the same building. You're not separated, working in most cases in different locations. But I think one of the keys to community is common knowledge, something that Robert said for years, but having common knowledge and the commitment to communicate is really critical. So this is going to be a fun topic for us. It's good to be back in the same place. I know the last couple of e-learnings I've been, I think, at one of the schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, as a couple of our people we watch on TV say, we're back and better than ever.
And we're alive.
Well, yeah.
We're old.
Well, you're old.
We're older.
You're old.
Okay, so let's always start with the thing that we're thinking about is what are the enhancements that we're committed to? What enhancements are we making? And when we look at this one, it's really not on services, not on systems, but really this one's going to be the enhancements we make with our people. This is really people focused, this whole e-learning. And we want a like-minded team. So when I think about how we're going to do that, how are we going to create a like-minded team so they understand our efforts when it comes to building a community? So let's talk about what we're going to do here. I love this new line. I've never really felt it, but I think with the World Series and everything, vibe of the tribe, right? What's your energy compass right now? The vibe of the tribe. I mean, you feel it. There's businesses that have great energy and there's businesses that really lack it. And you're not going to build a community when you don't have the right energy. And that's really key. I've had some really bad service stories in the last few weeks, and I think it's because you get ready to teach or share information like this, and God gives you these examples. And I was walking into Home Goods, and Steve's oldest daughter, Sarah, had triplets, and they turned 3 October 3rd. So I went into Home Goods to purchase really big piggy banks. They had these really large ones there, and I thought 3 little pigs, you know, the children are turning 3. It kind of is a little story. I hope you understand that. But anyway, I walked up to someone who was stocking the shelves, and I said, "Hi, good morning. I was here a couple weeks ago and saw these huge piggy banks, and we have triplets that are turning 3, and I thought it'd be a great idea." Never looked at me. And she said, "What we have is on the shelf. Everything we have is out on the shelf."
Did they make that face?
Well, that's kind of how she said it. But the point is when she sucked the energy right out of my idea. She sucked the energy of the experience. I mean, she could have said, "Hey, what a great idea. I don't know where they're at. I haven't seen them lately, but let's walk together and I'll help you find them." There's such a big difference. Did she say something that was right? Yes, she said, "What we have is what's out there." That's what she said. So she didn't lie to me, but did she say it the wrong way? And did she realize that the energy was one that paralyzed the customer? I didn't even know what to do at that moment for a second. And I should have said, "You just ruined it completely for me. Thank you." But, and Emma, our daughter, was with us, who's 12, and she said she wasn't very friendly. So it's noticed by everybody, the vibe of the tribe. You're not going to build a community when you have low energy. You've got to understand the responsibility that your energy brings to the table. And we've used the slide in many of our learnings in the past. It says, your energy introduces you even before you speak. Meaning if she would have looked up at me and said, good morning, let me know if you have any questions, already the energy would have changed. It was really, it's disturbing that could even be her thinking she gave service that day.
Well, and I think that what I get out of this thought is, what is the vibe of your tribe? And the responsibility of each person carries with that vibe. Just as Terry said about her home goods story, one person in a group of, let's say there's 30 people that work at home goods in that situation.
They all could have been great.
They all could have been great, but the vibe was really from that one person.
Exactly.
When you're one of 5 or one of 10 in the average salon, that vibe can spread. A bad vibe can spread quickly. A good vibe takes more consistency. It really does. A good vibe is a decision. Part of a good vibe is just having great people, but another part of it is what's acceptable inside your tribe, so to speak. What's acceptable inside your salon from an energy. This is solely talking about
just
energy and what you put out and what the public sees in that first 7 seconds of interaction, and what they see then while they're sitting in your business and witnessing everyone else operate. Remember, your guest is with you probably for 30 minutes to an hour. Our longest guests are probably in a salon for a couple of hours. So it's a commitment to keep your energy level at a high, at where you need to be. We say all the time, on stage. There aren't hiding places in most salons. You're not in individual rooms in most cases. You're out there in front of everybody. So you literally are on stage from the moment you walk through the front door until the moment you leave at night. And so that decision to have that high energy, positive vibe, focused on the guest, committed to, really committed to them, is important. And realizing that when one of you's off, the whole team's off, the whole impression's off.
I think something that we should make mention of this is it's easier and natural. We've talked about this many hours over our years together. You really have to work on this because you're naturally more of just a quiet giant, right? So you really have to say, when I'm entering the room today, I'm going to make sure I look at everybody. I'm going to make sure I say hello, because that's not natural.
People catch me like they catch a cold.
What do you mean? What do you ever heard you say that before?
It's just, I'm not going to be that obvious thing that comes in and hits you over the head, but over time, you're going to catch who I am and what I'm about, and so.
But you don't walk in and just stand back either. Now, Steve will always say to me, you take for granted that you can walk in and go, hello, hi, and not even think a second of it. So you've got people that automatically create that energy, and others that need to work on it. But you can't have, in this business, you can't have an energy that you think you're not responsible for energy. That's why we talk about salon hours. Many times when we're coaching a salon, will say, what's the best energy day you have in here? Oh my goodness, Fridays, we're all here. My energy is so good. I said, then create that every day, because you're shortchanging yourself if you know there's days that your energy is really low. How are you going to create that kind of magic? So Vibe of the Tribe, you can't even move towards the rest of this topic if this is a problem right here. You should focus on this. And some of you might be saying, oh my gosh, that's us. Help us. How do we do it? Well, you do it by a couple of different things. You build by increasing confidence. I mean, confidence, it should be obvious. I just critiqued a salon just recently and said, you've got some people that you've got some confidence issues. It just doesn't appear that they're confident. It appears that they're kind of hiding in the background of other people. Go back and get them and bring their confidence up and focus confidence on a daily basis. When you increase confidence, let's give examples. you have something brand new on and you think you look great. Your walk is differently that day than another day. Confidence is, man, I just serviced an account. It was the best. It was the best I've ever done. You have increased confidence as you're walking through the salon. Confidence is going to create energy. And so you've got to think about that. If no one has any energy, either they don't like it or they don't have the confidence. So go back and get them and help them with that. And it's something you work on in the schools every day. You know, your schooling is to create confidence.
Well, confidence comes from a lot of different ways. You can have someone who's technically competent,
but not socially confident.
Not socially.
Yeah.
And all of it takes practice. One of the things we say in the school all the time is that for new people in the business, they have to learn to be more accomplished and confident with their words the way they were once. They have to be willing to be awkward with their words as they were once awkward with their hands, on the way to being confident, on the way to being accomplished. That difference between awkwardness and confidence, in many cases, is all about repetition, and it's all about practice. And to some degree, in the salon industry, we only practice on paying guests. And it's still one of the lost arts. They say that it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at anything. 10,000 hours is a long time. And a lot of that 10,000 hours is done with and for a paying guest. And so anything that you can do as a salon, I think we come together. Think of the passive versus active. You come together in a class in the salon and you watch someone do hair. I don't know, I mean, I'd venture to say I've probably watched more hair being done in my career than anybody, yet I don't think any of you would really want me to do your hair. Maybe some of you would, but I don't think you would afterwards. So watching hair doesn't necessarily make someone a great hairdresser. It can inspire, it can enthuse, it can motivate, but it's not going to say that someone who watches becomes better. So it doesn't increase confidence. Activity, action, knowledge that you take action on, and knowledge that you practice and use gets rid of that awkwardness and becomes confidence.
I see people confident once the customer sits in the chair, but they look absolutely scared to death from the greeting and the walk to the chair. So how many times do we have to do that with them over and over again? I grew up, and I'm going to tie this together with how I had to learn this.
Going to ask for money.
I'm going to ask for money. I mean, my mom would say and volunteer our neighborhood for every collection that there was. The Red Cross, Cancer Society, Muscular Dystrophy, everything, the school. And she'd say, absolutely, count us in, I'll collect. And then she'd say, Terry, and I'd have to walk door to door and say, hi. I'm surprised people even opened the door when I walked up because they knew I was collecting for something. I can tell you that many times I did it over the years. And then when I had to wait tables and bus tables, it was natural because I'd already learned how to connect with others. And most people don't ever have to do that anymore. You have schools that are raising money for kids. There's a method to their madness. Yes, they want to sell these tickets to raise money for their school. They also want these children to learn how to lean in and be able to speak to adults and ask for money. How many parents just take them to work and put them on a counter? How many parents say, I'll just buy all of them because my son doesn't have the confidence to go door to door? This is the kind of thing we're talking about because the generations after us are losing the ability to connect with others. And it's a real problem. The oldest person in the salon probably does it better than everyone else, not because of their age, because of the times.
Sure, they've mastered it. They've become a master. And I think that it's important that we all remember that our words, as well as our actions, are us interviewing for the future that we want to live in. And if we're not good at talking to our guests, at talking about what we do, at talking about the products and the services and things that we offer, then we're just not confident. We're not practiced enough.
So what would we do? We would say, okay, Ethel, you have a real problem here. And I know you have it. You might not know you have it, but this is sticking out. You're going to be our greeter, a designated greeter for the next 2 weeks. I mean, she does it for 2 weeks, has to greet and entertain up there. It's going to change her world. And she might think she doesn't need it. But I'm telling you, after those 2 weeks is up, you're going to create another individual. It's going to help them tremendously. And we have to give them assignments that might not be feel-good assignments. For example, if I have to put someone in the shampoo room for 2 weeks, or have someone be a greeter, or someone that's just going to be in the take-home area for 2 weeks, you might think, oh my gosh, I can't afford it. How can you afford not to? How can you not afford to put them in the take-home area and say, you are going to present take-home to every customer for 2 weeks and get that kind of hours under your belt?
Well, and also realize that your moments of truth in the salon business are every single guest interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So look at those points of
we've
interaction.
Got people that walk in the building and don't even say hi to each other.
Oh yeah. Well, and in the school business, one of the things that I realized is that when I walk down a hall or I walk around the school or in a classroom, I make eye contact with everyone and I speak and greet everyone. Some of the people that I pass on a hallway or I see in a class that I have looked at and greeted don't have the confidence yet to look back and say hello. How are those people going to immerse into a salon
Absolutely.
and greet 10 guests or 8 guests or however many guests per day if they don't have that confidence? So our role is to give them the confidence. And it's no different. If you're a salon owner listening to this, it's no different than me as a school owner or as a distributorship. That's our key. Understanding our points of contact.
And we're fighting in a different time. I mean, let's face it. When we grew up, if I went to get a loaf of bread and came home, I had to say, yoo-hoo, I'm back, and here I am, hello. Now you've got people having meals in restaurants and no one's even speaking to each other. They're on phones, they're driving in cars with headsets on. No one has to feel they're okay with no relationship, no human interaction. And this job requires it. I was watching last night. My mom is so funny. I mean, she lives with us and she's 85. And she said, there's nothing on TV. And I said, well, we have, 800 stations. I'm sure we can find something. And so we were watching Andy Griffith's show, Mayberry, right? And Floyd was on last night, the barber. And Andy said, what do you think you're qualified talking about marriage? You're not even married. He said, listen, I've been a barber for 30 years. I know everything about everything. It just cracked me up. It just cracked me up because he said, I connect with people every day. I know everything about everything. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. And I should have recorded it because you would have loved that. So pushing them to challenge themselves. They're not going to want to greet for 2 weeks. They're not going to want to expedite connection in the salon. That's going to be awkward for them. But on the way to greatness, you have to be willing to be awkward, like you said. So presence and being present, how present is your staff to what's going on? We hosted an event the other day, and gosh, as much as we talk about it, you think that Steve and I wouldn't still have to teach this. I walk back in the back, and there's times when you have to realize I've got to bring my energy up because the customer is not irritated, but they could if I don't redirect them. So we had 150 people shopping, let's say, and I walked back in the back and 5 of our staff were standing in a circle, and I couldn't believe it. One with a cup of coffee, the other 2. They were there to serve if someone wanted them. They were waiting to serve, but they weren't present to serving. And I walked over there, I said, go spend time with the customer. Go get in there. Well, we're here if they need anything. No. Go in and rub elbows with the customer. And I could tell they were reluctant. I said, come on, let's go. And I said, watch Chrissy, best social person we have on staff. Just watch her connecting, looking, asking questions, say, great choice. What do you want to know about that product? That's my favorite special we're featuring today. Get involved. And we had another bottleneck with some registers, so I started goofing around saying, it's your red hot checkout here, you know, you just start having fun with it, or you create competitions with the customer saying, Brian, you were in there, you and Jess, and I was saying, okay, this room's winning, your room. You just create energy and help people to realize it feels a little tense, the line's gotten a little long. How do we take some of that pressure off by being present and leaning into the customer?
Well, the other thing I think about is that we're in a business where we do services and make take-home products available in person, right there in front of the guest. There's a lot of people who shop based on gift with purchase or value added. Well, here's the thing: you are the gift with purchase.
Yeah.
You are the value added.
If it's done right,
and you're always available. They don't have to wait for a special. And I think that that's really important to know. And sometimes we don't treat it like that. Sometimes we don't treat it as we have to be that gift with purchase. And we're the gift because we make a professional recommendation. We're a gift because we instruct them at how to use the product once they have it in their hands.
Yeah, we're the gift because we're the expert.
Yeah, we're the expert, clearly. And we stand behind everything that we sell. And so when you really look at that, that's a mindset. I think that the vibe of the tribe is also a mindset. What is your mindset every day walking into your salon, into your business? And is it shared by the entire team? Because that's when it becomes community. Part of community is common. And you know what? Unfortunately, community is more uncommon than it is common in the salon industry.
Well, I think, is it the customer's job ever to have more energy than we do? Gosh, no. And we're just talking about energy here because we can't build a community without the right energy and the right fans. So the next thing we're talking about is do we have raving fans in our salons, or do we have casual followers? You know, I mean, do we invite our customers to participate with us in open houses? Do we see what philanthropic things that they have going on? Do we know more? Do we know enough about them to see what they're looking for a salon? We might have raving fans from a point of applying color, but do we have raving fans supporting us in our business efforts? There's a big difference.
Well, and the book with the same title is so important, such an important book. If you haven't read it, I really think you should go out and get it, because it's based on a premise that satisfied guests leave businesses every day. None of us want satisfied. So if you say in your business, part of your plan is, we want great customer satisfaction, guess what? Temporary dollars, temporary income, temporary guests. What we want are raving fans. A lot of us have known that about this business for a long time. The number one way to build new business is word of mouth. Word of mouth is a raving fan. We are more in tune as a society to see the raving maniac people that leave our business and leave a Yelp review or a Google review because they didn't get what they thought they should get. And those things become distractions instead of using it to say, you know what, we can do better. We can do better. This is what we need to learn from that. This is how we do it. But we have to, as a team, be committed to raving fans, people that have to tell somebody, you got to go there.
You got to go there. And that's the next slide about making the list. You're going to see that in a minute. So raving fans, it's, of course, purposeful energy, knowing it, high-touch service. How can we make you more comfortable? Personalizing the names like Norm at Cheers. You focus on the guest more than you focus on each other. You have an eagle eye. You're able to see what needs to be done. Where's the attention? You're scanning for opportunities all the time. And there's such urgency. There's such this urgency of the staff wanting to respond to the guest's needs. That attention to detail, leaning in, like we said on the prior slide, having that eye-to-eye, heart-to-heart relationship with the customer. That's what creates raving fans. And all of these are great meeting topics in a salon, and it's great topics for let's focus on purposeful energy this week. Let's focus on high-touch service. It could be a focus of yours or a theme for a week. Casual followers is casual energy. They're professional customers of ours, but indirectly they're professional strangers. We're not looking up. They're not looking back at us. We do the minimum. I mean, hairdressers, when they run behind, will cut back on the service. You've got hairdressers that do the minimum all the time. And the casual follower has nothing to attach to. Customers want to attach to your beliefs, your values, your culture. And if those things aren't present, what are they going to attach to? So, what does that mean? Before we go into the community part, you're going to have skillful hands, which is what we pretty much work on all the time. But the other 4 areas, we have to have skillful words, skillful eyes, skillful ears, and skillful heart. And all those will help us in creating the relationship that creates a raving fan. And then at that time, we're able to, without any reserve or without any reservation, to ask for them to contribute to our community efforts, which we'll go into in a moment.
The current person that I read and really enjoy, I'd like to recommend 2 books from that person. His name's John Gordon, Jon, last name Gordon. The first book is called The Energy Bus.
That's great.
And I'll be writing one of our salon owners right after I finish this as a recommended book in their system as they move their people along. So The Energy Bus is one. The other is called The Carpenter. And why I thought of John was on this skillful hands, skillful words, skillful eyes, and skillful heart. Because really the carpenter speaks to the heart and soul, to me, of a hairdresser, of creating a masterpiece versus just doing their job. And if we start every guest with the intent of creating a masterpiece, and it's really well described, the difference between a masterpiece and just doing something. So I'd recommend both of those books. They're available on Audible. They're available in the bookstores. Hope you enjoy it.
Good. I love this list.
Yeah, yes. You know, it's interesting. When I first looked at it, and I started to think, how exactly do you have a skillful heart? And then I get it.
It's a servant's heart.
It's a servant's heart. It's an intention.
Absolutely.
Having skill isn't an accident.
You probably have, if I had to rate these on you, I'd say heart is your number 1 thing. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You lead with that all the time. I don't have as skillful of a heart as you do. If I had to say where mine lies, it's got to be on the eyes. What I see, what I critique, what I feel, and then I probably will go to the other ones, but I'm scanning all the time. I'm looking. If I'm at my desk, I will call down and say, you know, I think Lex needs a little help down there. You're listening and you're hearing what could be, what's going on here. And I learned that from the restaurant. Remember when we would first start dating and I'd take you to a restaurant and I'd say, what's happening over there? And you'd say, what?
They're in trouble.
I don't see it. I'd say, they're in trouble. Watch what's going to happen in just a second. So, yeah, I think that's something. So here's what we're doing. And it kind of goes with what you said before. We're trying to make the must be part of list as a professional, as a guest. We want people to work for us. We want them to say, oh my gosh, we got to work here. And I can tell you, the first time I walked into a steak and ale restaurant, and it was, I think it was a Friday night, and I had just moved to Michigan, and I was looking at, you know, what restaurants am I going to apply to? And I walked in this place, and I'm telling you, in a matter of 2 minutes, I had to work there. I mean, it wasn't even an option for me. The energy the staff had, their uniforms, the energy of the customer, the smell of the restaurant, the atmosphere was dim and romantic, but it had this energy about it, and the professionalism had to be part of it. So as an employee, I walked in there and said, I've got to work here, right? And then you want that same thing. People used to say when they walked in, oh my God, I can tell this is going to be great. Remember when we went home last weekend and I took you to the Derby, and you walked in and you said, oh, I can tell. I said, isn't there something? There's something special here. And I knew I wanted you to dine there. And it's the same thing. We're trying to make the list of people's minds that they either want to work there and be part of it, or they want to be a guest there. And that takes a lot of energy.
We haven't talked about it in a long time, but one of the people we studied under talked about that every person has a shelf in their mind, and that our mind has only a certain amount of shelf space, things that are top of mind in various categories. And what they took us through was toothpaste. How many toothpaste can you remember? Most can quickly remember 3 or 4. How many detergents can you remember? How many salons can you remember? How many are top of mind? Those are the ones that have shelf space in your mind. How do we become, how do we get shelf space in the minds of the people who we currently service and who we've yet to service? And that doesn't happen by accident. Just like those brand names that have shelf space in our mind right now.
So we got 4 or 5 of them, and they'd say, okay, there's 32 toothpaste. And we couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
We were blown away by that. And we were wondering, I'm sorry, I always do that. Always touching. So how are we going to make the list? And we went to a new restaurant in LA, and I don't know what it was called. Sorry, Stephanie Kachowski took us, and I was blown away by this new concept. And I think
Playa.
Playa. How do you spell it?
Playa.
Okay, Playa, in LA. And I probably used the powder room 3 times that night. I was fascinated. Not that the company wasn't good, but I was amazed at the things I saw. So in this dining room in LA, it wasn't a huge place. They made this conscious decision. So they had their main dining room. They had a whiskey room in the back for after dinner cordials. They had a cigar room area outside. They had a store with goodies that celebrate gatherings. So it was all supplies if you were entertaining your friends. So they had card games. They had fortune cards. They had wine and cheese trays. They had candles. In a restaurant, they had these things. It was weird. They had a singles bar that if you were single and dining, you don't want to sit at a table on there, but you could dine at the singles bar. They also had this big project table, big wood table. And so they do cooking classes there. People come in on a designated diet and do scrapbooking. They have a book club that meets at the big project table. They do bead making, they do bread making, and they do pasta making, take the pasta home and cook it. This is a restaurant in LA. They decided to do all these different things to create community.
Interestingly enough, it's also down the hill from Loyola Marymount University. And as we left, the kind of the project table area was absolutely filled with students doing their homework. And just the other side of that area, which didn't show to the restaurant side, was a coffee and espresso bar with gelato. So those students would enjoy a coffee or espresso while they're doing their homework.
Pretty cool.
They get an ice cream. I had trouble getting Terry out of the whiskey room and
cigar bar. Oh yeah, I was in there.
I think it's funny that it even made the list. That the whiskey room and the cigar bar made the list because.
But you had to walk. You had to peek. I mean, I was snooping everywhere. I loved it. But look what they did here. Do we have big color bars?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have tables where people can process? Could they do something else and create a network of people and bring them together? This is a restaurant that focused on community.
I'm really surprised that salons that have these large color bars haven't added movie and a makeover as a salon party for all these years on all of the Lifetime channels and cable TV and whatnot.
Especially with your classics like Audrey and Grace Kelly and showing a great theme and then duplicating those looks. Oh yeah.
So easy. Have it catered, do it right, have a blast. We've got to let customers in to play with us. And that's really the thing that this restaurant did. Now, they failed at the side of our table. Terry hasn't told this story, but in the same restaurant, Terry asked for some blue cheese olives.
Yeah, I said, can you stuff? I love blue cheese stuffed in olives.
And when she didn't order a martini, which is usually what the guy, because she ordered a Diet Coke, and he looked at her and said,
he's not going to do that.
You're not having a martini? There's no way he's making those for you. And then begrudgingly later on, he came by the table with 3 olives and put it down. And instead of saying, look what we did for you, we're so...
That's all he had time for.
That's all he had time for. He dropped them on the table. And he only did that because Terry said, oh, I'll pay for them.
I'll pay
I
for
don't
it.
want them free, I'll pay for them. So then he tuned in. But nonetheless, it was just...
He doesn't understand his responsibility.
No, he didn't know how he fit. Let's put it that way. He didn't know how he fit into that environment
This story.
that the building created.
That's exactly
that
right.
leadership created. And it stands out.
So you can spend so much time focusing on what you can do that you forget that you've got to spend that equal amount of time on the people that do it, right? So where are our opportunities here? I hope we gave you some good examples, but friends and family of teams. When's the last time we did an open house just for friends and family of the team that works there, right? Could we do a wellness night? Sure. Schools, students, and teachers, could we have where the kids go to school, just an invite that I went drove through McDonald's, the kids wanted chicken nuggets, and I walked through and they said, is this purchased tonight to help Troy schools? I said, absolutely. He said, great, thank you. And so it was McDonald's partnering with Troy schools that night. I didn't know. I'm just glad our kids went to that school, right?
Well, and that's a good point. Very easy to put something like that together because the schools are always raising funds.
Always.
Salons are always raising funds. To be honest, for one reason or another, why don't we do things like that in our local community that also get us the right kind of impression in the community?
Absolutely.
Part of becoming, look even at churches. Why would a church have to reach out to the community in the way that they do? Why do they need a billboard? Why do they need a sign? Because they know that in addition to people, they need to reach out because they want to influence and affect the community that you do business in. It's the same thing. Why wouldn't we do that? I think tonight in our community, there's another one of those for the kids' school at Lou Malnati's Pizza.
Good. Eat every day.
So you can go eat pizza and be helping your school.
So you could get a haircut and help in the school.
Absolutely.
Right? So you could buy Paul Mitchell and be helping the school or any other product line that PSC represents. Welcome to the show here. So
could be Domino's for milkshake or Russell too.
You could also hospital medical centers or family. I remember when Lisa Gibbons was created, what's hers? Lisa's Place. And it was for the families that take care of caregivers and said, so why not caregiver makeover days? There's ways for you to give back by connecting with hospice or other organizations. And the hospital medical center is saying, hey, we want to give back and make people feel better about themselves. How can we do this?
Well, and you know what? It's also fostering an environment where who's going to bring you a six-figure idea? Who on your team that comes there every single day has a six-figure idea in their head? Right.
And that's huge. I mean, I remember when your mom was in the hospital and Linda or Sarah went over with dry shampoo. It was a shampoo. It was a shampoo you put in, but you don't have to get out of
no
bed.
rinse.
No rinse. And it made her feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we doing anything like that by donating our time to making the people in the hospitals feel better, right? You laughing at me?
Donate your time.
Did I speak that wrong too? My gosh, I can't talk today. So we have retail establishments, community outreach. I cannot believe what's on the calendar in Shorewood, just in Shorewood, what we get for all the different events that they do. If you're a salon in Shorewood, Illinois, you should be piggybacking or saying, how can we lean in? This morning I met with Habitat for Humanity, and we're going to be doing a fashion show. We're hosting it for them, but they're doing a fashion show to raise money for Habitat. And also they wanted to know, what can PSC do? It's leaning in. And can you do everything every day? No, but you've got staff that aren't willing to do anything. Can they do 4 days a year where they've got to give back, and it becomes part of your culture to create a community? You don't want to be a building that's silent in the community. You've got to be able to become a household name in the community and make that list. You can't do it in silence.
True, and I think that there's some great examples around us. I mean, Davines is a B Corp,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a company to benefit the world. It's a commitment socially, economically, sustainability-wise.
That took a lot of effort.
It took a ton of effort. We've got salons that are attempting to become B Corps. One of the companies that we do business with, Salesforce.com, has a program called 1%. And that's they give 1% of their time, 1% of their talent every year, and 1% of their overall revenue every single year. That's just a way of doing business, is the 1%. And many companies have joined them. So there's lots of ways to connect, but that all filters down to become the vibe of the tribe. There are people who will join you for different reasons. They'll join you as a guest, they'll join you as a team member for different reasons. So what is your vibe? What are the things, what are the factors that make someone want to join you, either to work there or to be serviced in your environment? Focus on that. Let's not focus on the distractions that are out there. I think there's distractions that are in our business more than ever. And I think that because of social media and because of how easily it is to communicate and to kind of create a story around something, I think we get just distracted. But my biggest concern about Amazon.com is the distraction it creates every day in the hairdresser's mind and in salons' minds. They do what they do. The fact that the product may be available there right now has nothing to do with why you opened your salon, why you became a hairdresser, why you're in business. It has nothing to do with why PSC is in business and why we do what we do. Nothing to do with it. Therefore, it should not be a distraction. If we continue to do the things that we do, and we do it extremely well, and we're better than a button click, we're going to be fine.
And we better be better than a button.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So here's another thing I'm thinking about. And this is why this is important. We just witnessed homecoming in our neighborhood. How many kids were out there? 500 million kids?
Oh,
I mean, we had, the whole place was parked. We had people say to our driveway, you know, we would have paid $20 to park in your driveway. Because,
Next year.
Because, yeah, we're going to be out there with our little aprons on.
Parking.
We're going to have common parking and make it, you know, $500 during the picture taking. We had one of the families decided to host it for the whole senior class, it felt like, and they were across the street, and our whole neighborhood was filled. Here's what I thought about, and this is a shame. In our school years, girls are dressing up and celebrating homecoming, winter dances, prom. Even salons know, you know, it's homecoming right now. It's going to be crazy in here. And the winter dance is here, and it's going to be crazy in prom. Gosh, why is it that events are far and few when you're an adult? We should still be celebrating these kind of nights. I mean, we have a couple of black tie events that we have to go to here, and I love them. It feels like a $1,000,000 bucks. And I feel bad for people that don't have those. I mean, why is it in the school years that there's planned activities and celebrations all during high school, and maybe in college too, if you're lucky enough to go on and get advanced education. But what about the adult years? Maybe you go to a wedding, maybe you go to a high school reunion, but what are the celebrations during the year? And we've got communities that are doing that right now. Heidi, our friend, has her chocolate ball that she does for hugs, and people dress up and have a good time. But do salons know about hugs? Salons know about homecoming. Do salons know about hugs? Are we doing formal updos for people? Are we figuring out all the different kind of events in our area so we can treat them with the disciplines of homecoming and prom? I don't think we're doing that. We're missing an opportunity to connect with other celebrations out there. Mm-hmm. And we could say, look, I mean, you're doing a silent auction. We want to give a haircut and color or a complete makeover. Give a complete makeover every time you could participate in a silent auction. But we're losing the opportunity to celebrate with our customers because we're not leaning in to be on the list of other people, right? And That's big. Everyone knows homecoming because it's become an event. Homecoming's like proms now. What they're spending is ridiculous. However, good for the world that it helped make that. I mean, if you look at schools right now, schools do a better job at celebrating and creating community than adults and businesses do. So, calendar for 2018 already planned for most schools.
Oh, yeah.
Right? To know what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it. And maybe you're a person, and we've got people here on our staff, and I know we have it at the schools too, we've talked about this. We've got people on staff that only think differently when there's an event. The status quo, and they get stuck, and they don't know how to think big. If there's an event or a deadline, their creativity is pushed, and they're at their best. Best under stress. I hate that, but there's people that work like that. Raise your hand. Brian raised his. Yeah, that's you too. They love that. They do best under that. The status quo almost allows them to push it off to the side. Oh, I don't have to do that yet, so I'll push it over here. And if you put them under stress, they're like, I'll work 18 hours a day, I'll get it done, I'll make it. And you think, oh my God, why live like that? That's what salons do sometimes too. If there's not an event, the staff doesn't even raise their hand and lean in to an opportunity. You look at, you want to find people that you want to be known as. Count on us, knock on our door, raise your hand to participate, get your guests involved in it too, and be the ones that people want to ask first. Today, they didn't meet today. The Habitat meeting is about a fashion show. It's actually about, we're doing a fashion show here on November 19th for a business that it's called Ask the Dress. And people are buying their prom dresses in November. Now here's the killer of this whole thing. They're not even asked to go to prom yet, but they're buying their dresses. Now, I don't think everybody ever bought a dress without knowing if I was going, but they are now. And isn't that unbelievable? We're talking about $600, $700, $800 dresses, and you don't even know if your daughter has a date. Do you find that weird? I do. But that's the trend now. That's why she's doing a fashion show now, because if she did it in February, she'd be too late. She'd miss all the signals.
I think it's a perfect Christmas stuff.
I understand that. But how does the girl know she has a date? They're willing to take that chance to have the dress they want. Well, yeah, I guess. So, the thing that she said,
The thing, if they're buying their dresses in November, why isn't their
hair appointment scheduled?
And do we want practice dates scheduled, like you do for weddings? And maybe you want conditioning or color appointments.
That's exactly where I was going. Why are they ahead and you wait till we go out
and how well do we know the school in our community, not only the school schedules, but where are young people buying their dresses?
Why did you create a relationship with them? And not just because they're next door, but because you did your research and found out the places. I get my nails done, and I walked in and I said, oh, it's busy. They say, it's this one and homecoming, and this one's tomorrow night, and next week is this and this. And you know what? Do all of you know? That's where we have to be the ones that people know that we're interested. When I do a welcome parade, I do.
Well, simple things. Not only within our industry, but also within the schools. What about a teacher appreciation day or teacher appreciation week? Or maybe you reach out to in our area, like a Troy Middle School or a WPO, and say, you take care of the children in their community, let us take care of you. Come in during this week to this week. So there's lots of things, there's ways if you want to. I think also, I've often thought, and we haven't been able to pull this off yet, but I think the hairdressing community should do a learning leader appreciation day, at least a day of training given back to the learning leaders that are providing the next generation of stylists in schools. I just think I think we expect a lot. And David Wagner does a talk a lot down person. And palm up is what can I give? I'm offering you what's in my hands. Palm down is taking. I'm reaching out to take that opportunity. I'm reaching out to take it from the community. And what can we as a salon, can we create a vibe where we're palm up?
Well, I think, and maybe this is out there a little bit, so stay with me on this, Steve. Pampered Chef or those like businesses do a better job creating community than our businesses do. And it's because they have to. Meaning they've got to go in and do home parties, and they've got to go in and reach out. And they don't have a Pampered Chef location that people can find them. They've got to create it, right? Sometimes our brick and mortar allow us to hide behind, we're here, should you need us, right? I don't have to reach out. I don't have to create. I don't have to say, would you like? And if we did, I think you do equivalent to Pampered Chef nights, and people are calling them style parties or something, where you go to your top customer. Let's say Steve is my top customer, and say, Steve, we want to celebrate you in the salon, and we want to do it with a Friday night from 5 to 6:30. We want you to invite 10 or 15 of your great friends. We're going to have wine and cheese. We're going to start your night off. We're going to do some hair for those in the audience that will allow us to do hair on them. And we're just going to make it all about you. And that's a way of thanking you for being here. We're going to do special deals that night for your friends. We're going to give them discounts if they schedule an appointment. But this is for us to say thank you and give back. There'll also be some, for hosting it, there's also going to be things in there. It's a way to thank you. You always should have a hostess gift for someone that does this for you. That's creating community. That's creating layers of it. And you might say, and also we'd like to make a donation to your favorite charity for proceeds that night. Right? So there's ways you can create that. Everyone should be assigned to do that maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Or if they're trying to build their clientele, they have to do it while they're still moving their base to take on more guests. There's ways to do it. And we're just not willing. The amount of people that say to us while we're coaching them, my staff won't like that. They'll be resistors. They'll say no. You know, when we talk about career path, we put in there the amount of committee hours that they have to help out. Committee could be building, it could be philanthropic, it could be style parties, it could be going into the community and thanking teachers. Whatever your committees are, every level should have committee hours that they have to do to help bring back the right reputation. So,
Yes.
what kind of questions do you have for us today? Brian, do you have anything? Or what are you thinking about this topic? I like it. You know, we do an event here at PSC called Look Amazing, Be Amazing. And I don't lead it. Our staff leads it. Mickey heads it up. She's our director of HR. And it is where for the underprivileged children in the area, we do free haircuts getting ready to go back to school because it's expensive for the families. And we have popcorn and hot dogs and face painting, and we invite the police department to show off their vehicles and the fire department to show off their vehicles in the parking lot. The kids take rides. There's music, there's movies playing from Disney in the theater. We create the whole event so it doesn't look like we're just getting free haircuts. The kids think it's an event, and we're helping out the parents, and they're able to have an outing with their children. Could you participate in that? Sure you could. We have learning leaders that come in, and our design teams come in and they do the haircuts that day. No shampooing, it's all done with water mist and getting them ready for school. Parents and the kids leave with more confidence, and we created also not only helping them create a memory, we also do Christmas in Rockdale under the same premise. Mickey leads that event too, and we all join in and help her. You've got people that can chair events better than other people. I mean, it's all our job to assist Mickey on these efforts. What else can you do? Are you known for a couple days a year so you don't have to ask at the last minute? I can tell you if you are a live in the moment owner and you ask people
you don't give them enough notice, it's kind of your fault that they're saying no. They need proper planning to be able to do that.
And for those of you who stay with us through this entire hour, thank you. And second of all, I wanted to make an announcement for those of you who are local and would have significant interest. Our schools, both Chicago and Lombard, have just recently gotten their final accreditation to be able to offer the barbering program. So we are enrolling in for barbering. You know that our state of Illinois, for those of you that are cosmetologists, they'll give you 1,000 hours credit for the 1,500-hour program. So you've got 500 hours to attend. We've got many people, both graduates and licensed hairdressers in our salons, that are anxious to be involved in that program and seek dual licensing. So we're available to do that. We're available to talk to you in the admissions department of the Lombard School and Chicago School, or you can send an email to admissions@chicago.paulmitchell.edu or lombard.paulmitchell.edu. So if you're interested and care to do that, we'd love to talk to you. And the final thought for me would be holiday is a critical time in the take-home business and in the service business. So in the take-home business, you need to be ready. Make sure that your orders are placed, your backup orders are placed, and you've got ship dates, and you're ready to receive and put out. I was in a Starbucks, imagine that. I was in a Starbucks the other day, and I saw a really cool sticker on a box. And you may see it on a PSC box. You may see it on a PSC box coming your way soon. It says, anticipation is half the fun. No peeking until after or on November 6th.
That's fine.
So that's all their holiday merchandising. But it's sitting out in the Starbucks business right now. And I love it. Anticipation is in the boxes.
It could be boxes of paper, no one knows.
Right.
That's cool. Love it.
So I love that idea.
I love that idea in our house, too. I think that's very good. Are we good, Brian? What time are we at? Perfect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks because our November, I don't know the topic right off the top of my head. Also, great line to say, if you're looking for a specific topic, we're getting ready to write our topics for E-Learning for 2018. Feel free to give PSC a call. Let anyone know who answers the phone, and they'll get that to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.